What's going on, YouTube? John here from What's Spinning. We're here today to chat about this new Girlpool album, What Chaos Is Imaginary. Girlpool is an Los Angeles-based duo. They were originally sort of a folk punk act a few years ago. Around the time of their Before the World Was Big album, I was sort of lukewarm on them. The harmonies that these two would bring to the table were always very likable. But for me at the time, that was sort of it. I didn't really think they were bringing anything else of interest to the table. But with 2017's Power Plant, they did make a big step in the right direction. This was far from a heavier album overall, but the much more live feeling in the instrumentation just made this so much more appealing to me. Once again, the harmonies really did steal the show at the end of the day. And while I have to admit, I wasn't as head over heels for this project as some other people were, I still really enjoyed this album a lot. So I've been really curious to see where Girlpool was going to go next. And oh my goodness, I have been absolutely thrilled with each and every one of the singles that they've been putting towards this new album. It shows them going in a more alternative, more guitar-driven direction, and I have been so excited for this album. So let's chat about it. This album starts off with Lucy's, and honestly, right off the bat, this is an absolutely mesmerizing start. This is the sort of throwback alternative rock sound that was very subtle but really likable to me on their last album, but magnified by 10. I love the crunchy guitars. I love the passionate performances. And yes, this is very far from where they began, this sort of folk punk sound, but still, this is gold, man. Not to mention the sort of dreary, very rainy day atmosphere of this track. It's just so cool. It's something I haven't heard in a while, and it really goes great with Girlpool's harmonies. There are even sort of these angsty lyrics that pop up from time to time that just scratch all kind of itches and just really make this very throwback sound even more positive. There are also these angsty lyrics that pop up once in a while, and it just makes this even more of a throwback track at times. It's just scratching all kinds of itches for me right now. Hell, the harmonies have even made their way over. This track freaking rules. Stale Device isn't as crunchy, it's a little bit more laid back, but I still do like the very dreary feel to this. It's very gloomy at points, and something about the lyrics here really intrigues me. Like, there is something very surreal and otherworldly about some of these bars here, and I actually really love that. It's a far cry from where they were years ago, but I think it's really cool. I wouldn't say that this one is like something to write home about, but Girlpool have like really tapped into a mysterious side to them that I am certainly intrigued with and really excited to hear more of. Later on in the album, Pretty sort of sounds like an updated track from their Power Plant album. It's smooth, it's very guitar driven, and it's once again pretty wonderfully written. And it's just catchy enough to really stick with you. And some of these one-liners, man, they really are really fierce. There's this sense of longing here. It's practically a damn near ballad at times. I honestly can't help but get a little emotional listening to this track at times. It's really, really strong. I love it. Minute in Your Mind is another genuinely cool track. It's times like this where I realize I haven't really heard Girlpool going for such a deep sound. The instrumental palette here just seems to go on forever. Take this compared to their folk punk days where it was just the two of them strumming guitars. This is so vast and I love it. And not for nothing, the very synthetic and dark sound here, it's genuinely intriguing. Drum machines, this melting atmosphere, dreary vocals. If you told me a year ago these are things I was going to hear on a Girlpool track, I wouldn't have believed you, but I sure am happy that they're here. Now, a lot of times on this album we get a lot of very pensive, slow burning tunes. Some of them work out really well and others not so much. For instance, on Where You Sink, while it's not that bad of a tune, there are a couple of moments on here where I wish things would pick up a little bit. The hazy atmosphere, the dreamy vocals. This is all very new for Girlpool and especially their fans. But while this track has a lot going for it, I feel it doesn't have that one little punch that drives it home. I wish it was a little catchier maybe too, but still, I'm not bored with this. But no, it's tracks more like Hoax and The Shrine that I just can't help but raise a little bit of an eyebrow at. Like, don't get me wrong, this is still very tender and mighty sweet of a tune. And not too shocking, the harmonies are once again right on point. But for me, personally, it's moments like this that I feel like the duo's personalities are just a little stifled. And Chemical Freeze is easily my least favorite track here, and honestly for me, listening to this one, I get why some early Girlpool fans aren't really vibing with this album that much. It's once again very dreary, but here, I feel like this one is just too slow, which I usually wouldn't mind so much, but without the crunchy guitars and without the harmonies, I'm lost. I do think some of the psychedelic guitars that pop in later are actually kind of interesting, but the vocals that do pop in just are some of the weakest on the album. Just no thank you. The duo also here go for some more upbeat and jangly folk tunes like on Swamp and Bay. It's an upbeat track, and after a couple of really slow burners, this track is actually welcomed. I love the wailing solo and the low-key vocals. Those are great. And while this track isn't my favorite of the bunch, it's interesting to hear them in a more upbeat sound. Not to mention, the best thing about this album is Girlpool are still growing. They've given themselves enough room to really push themselves further in the future. And Higher has all of the same qualities I just mentioned, but is so much more instantaneous and seriously very memorable on the other hand. Once again, we get sort of a throwback alternative vibe, but I love the storytelling aspect to this one. And while I wish maybe there were a couple of crunchier guitars thrown in here, I still think this is a really genuinely catchy, fun tune. And oh my god, some of the passionate vocals in the final moment here literally may be some of my favorite vocals of the entire album. Sadly though, there are still a couple of tracks here that are a little faceless, a little bit of a step back. For my money, All Blacked Out isn't really cutting it for me. Here, I'm not really sure why they have sort of resorted to this old, dreary, rainy day folk. I mean, it's fine, like, it's not bad of a tune, but nothing about this sticks with me. The atmosphere is fine, the lyrics are even pretty interesting. Nothing about this is gonna woo me over and make me listen to this album again. And with Joseph's dad, I feel like the band are just, you know, kind of showing their main weakness on the album, and that is, while sonically they've improved their sound massively, there are a handful of moments here where they've sort of given up a little bit of their personality in its place. This track once again is well written and has some great concepts, and it's a fine alternative rock song, but there's almost no personality here, at least not as some as what I've heard in the past. But I digress. Overall, this is my favorite Girlpool project to date, even though I'm sure purists will disagree with that. On the title track, we get these very eerie church organs. Don't know where that came from, but let's please get some more of that. It's moments like this that they are just pushing themselves so much farther and trying so many different things I can't help but be excited. And while earlier I had an issue with some of the slower tunes, this one I don't have any issues with. No, it's really a very cool, sincere, and slightly menacing ballad. The vocals just come off so innocent and small in between this hulking instrumental. It's really fascinating. And honestly, things get pretty damn surreal by the end of it. And no, it doesn't have that catchy hook that I've been enjoying so far. But hey, this is gold, man. This is interesting. And the duo really knock it out of the park with a fantastic finale in Roses. It's practically psychedelic in parts, almost coming off like Julie Cruz's performances on Twin Peaks over the years. Hell, I'm almost getting a slight My Bloody Valentine influence here. Layers and layers of guitars, woozy vocals, and a dreary atmosphere. It's all coming together, and they put it together really well. I would honestly love to hear even more of this sound, and I'm actually really excited for the future of Girlpool. Yeah, while a couple of tracks here and there on this album, I felt like the duo gave up some of their personality to tackle a much bigger and broader and more surreal sound, this is still very exciting. It shows these two really pushing themselves. It's not the best alternative rock album that you're going to hear this year, and you might dig their earlier stuff more than this, but honestly, this excites the hell out of me, and it does my heart good to really see them pushing out and trying new things. I'm feeling a strong 7 out of 10, but let me know what you guys think down below. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and let me know what you guys would like for me to chat about in the future. Until next time, have a great day, guys.